Victoria, I want to ask, are you better than a child molester? Are you better than a child molester? Isn't that like a good question?
Yeah.
I stayed up all night to get that question. What's the answer?
I'm not.
You're not better than a child molester? Why not?
Because I know that for myself, I'm still subject to believing the lie, my own lie that I believe, just like a child molester is believing his lie when he molests a child.
Are you better than a child molester?
No.
And why not?
Well, because just like they go through stuff, I also have stuff that I go through.
Have you always known that, or you just start to realize it?
I started to realize it when I forgave my parents, and I noticed that they couldn't help themselves.
Right.
So
The reason I realize this question, I do a lot of counseling, and I counsel with people around the world just on a daily basis now. And I've heard horror stories of the way human beings been treating one another. And everybody in a fallen state think that they're better than the other. And they do things to hurt one another. They gossip about them, they whatever. And I realized that in the fallen state, I noticed that most people think their fallen state is better than someone else's. They measure it by whatever. And no one is better. But I also thought about, I talked to people with money and without, and I noticed that the people with money think that they're better than the people with no money, the poor, whatever, middle class people. And so it's like in that fallen state, everybody is measuring their lives and judging themselves based on something else. But what I realized is that they don't have love. And God said that if you don't have love, you have nothing. You could speak in tongues, you could feed the poor, you could live on the highest mountain, you could be a preacher, a deacon, a psychiatrist, whatever. But if you don't have love, you don't have anything. And most people do not have love. It's like human beings have begotten to have love for one another. And especially the Christians, because you're supposed to see, the Christians are supposed to be examples of God. But in the churches, in the Christian communities, one-on-one, there's no love. None at all. And it's no wonder that the children of the lie, it's so easy for them to destroy Christianity because there is no love in Christianity. There is more hate in the Christian now than I ever seen in my whole life. It's like they forgot to love. But yet they'll call themselves a Christian. They say, oh, I love God. I believe in Jesus. But if you don't have love, you have nothing. You can feed the hungry until the cows come home. But if you don't have love, you have nothing. So you should repent, go and forgive so you can return back to the real love. And in love, all things are possible. There's nothing that is impossible. But if you don't have that, you're in trouble. But you gotta overcome so you can come back to that. Otherwise, you're gonna lose your family, you're gonna lose your business, you're gonna lose your life. Because you don't have a solid foundation to build your life on. It's been built on sand. And so when the enemy comes, he comes and he threatens you with those things that are important to you. But once you have love, God will cause you to overcome those things and they become unimportant. You can take it or leave it. And then if they threaten to take your things away from you, you have the power of God working in you to help you deal with the world. You'll be in the world, but not of it. You must return to love. And when you love, you cannot, it's impossible to measure yourself based on someone else. You don't compare yourself to someone else. You don't try to be like someone else. You become you, and there's nothing like being you, really. You're not trying to imitate others. You wish everybody well. I really like seeing talent, good talent in people, right? Because I know talent's from God. And when you see it, I can appreciate it. And that's how it be. If somebody's doing well, they're good at singing, whatever they do. You're like, wow, that's amazing. You wish them well, but you wouldn't want to be like that. Oh, I want to be like that. So you go out and try to be like someone else, and you're never going to be them. You're an imitation of them. You're never gonna, you can't be me, or you can't be whomever, right? It's best to be yourself. But when you don't have love, you're gonna try to imitate others. And it doesn't work. And then when it doesn't work, you blame them for it. There's nothing like being yourself. You save yourself a whole lot of problems by being you. Don't put on a front. And if somebody's putting on a front, let them have it. You just be you, all right? But you gotta have love for that to happen. It's not, you can't make that happen on your own. You must overcome. Yes, sir. That makes sense a little bit? Yes. Yeah. When you're in a fallen state, you can't help but follow Satan.
I get that. That's so.
You're going to have his personality.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought this up because a couple days ago, some cousins and I were watching, you know, that show To Catch a Predator, that Chris Hansen guy that goes around.
Oh, yeah.
He busts like the online people.
Yeah.
It was funny. So I remember watching it back when it was big, you know, a couple years ago, and thinking, you know, these people are like the scum of the earth. You know, death penalty for child molesters, all that stuff. And now it's interesting now watching it, like if only we could have these people have a way of life where it's not even a thought that they would go down that road, then that would just save everybody all this grief and heartache.
This is why we have to restore the family.
Right, that's what
so
I was
that
thinking.
fathers and mothers are a good example for the kids, and they won't take that road.
Yeah.
And that starts in the home.
It does. I'm seeing that so
and the
clearly
kids
now,
don't
yeah.
get it anymore. The homes are messed up. And so the kids are not getting that example from the family first. And when they go out into the streets, it's bad examples for them. And it seems right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When he says to catch a predator, they look like regular people, and you wouldn't know what they were doing until they show up at the place to actually do what's in their mind. So we don't know what people are thinking. We don't know what they're like on the inside.
That's why we should be good examples so that they can find a way to overcome that stuff.
Or at least.
But what I notice is that the Christians, the churches, they think just like the world now.
Yeah.
You know, they don't see that it's a spirit and that we have to overcome the spirit, that human beings are possessed either by evil or by good. But they'll call it something else, and then the Christians start calling it the same thing rather than realize that the person is possessed.
Yeah.
They need to be born again.
Yeah.
We got to change the language. We can't talk like the children of the lie. They change the language, and we start speaking like them, and we forget what we're dealing with. But we got to remember and call it what it is. It's evil, either evil or good. It's nothing else but that. Once you return to the Father, you have no choice but to go the right way.
Right.
But in that fallen state where you fall away from the Father, you have no choice but to go the wrong way. You cannot make yourself go the right way.
Right.
It's impossible. That's why a lot of people who try, they end up jumping off the bridge, because it doesn't work. It just won't work. You must be born again, return to the Father. There will come a time where I'll return the children to the fathers and the fathers to the children. It's that time now. One of the point that, the primary point that God was making is that, yes, in that fallen state, you have all this stuff going on, your ego, you're into whatever you're into, but it's the heart that he cares about. And so it's those who are seeking him, what he does is he changes the heart. Even while you're still in your junk, he changed the heart, he renew your heart, and then he's back home with you, or you're back home with him, and he start cleaning up all that stuff that you was into, whatever it may have been. But he cares about the heart. I used to think I had to clean up my stuff first before I could go be with God, right? But that's not the way it is. It's about the heart. The salvation is of the heart. You must overcome the hatred in your heart and return to love. And then he'll fight the battle for you. And that's why he, brought Paul in anyway, because it was about his heart. And then Paul could fall away from all that other stuff. He would take care of that. Christians don't tell you that. And it's amazing. I really want you guys and ladies to understand it's about the heart. So don't be judging yourself. I'm a drug addict. I'm this, I'm that. It's something that you do and you will overcome when you return to the Father, but you cannot make yourself overcome that. So stop judging yourself. Stop fighting with yourself. You can't even make yourself overcome the anger that you have. So you got to stop judging yourself. Know that it's wrong. Know that it's something that you want to overcome. But your heart must be changed. It's about the heart. And then he'll clean up the stuff. And yet we need the law of the land to contain the lawless, because they're not being contained by the heart. And so we need laws of the land, otherwise everything will go crazy like it is now. But children of God, they would never break those laws. So you don't need those laws because you will follow the law of the heart. So it's for those who don't have the law of the heart. Yes, sir.
I came to see it myself through certain things, you know, when life happens. Like, I did certain things that I just never thought I would do, and I spoke against before I ever did them. And so, you know, the battle of good and evil is in all of us.
Yep.
And so for us to think that we won't go that far, I'll go this far, but I'll never go this far.
Never, ever, but never, ever, Mama Mia, never, ever say what you will or will not do.
Exactly.
You're lying to yourself. Really. It's best to just wait and see. Never say you won't, because Satan's like, yeah, okay. I'll see you down the road. You're playing God. We don't know what we're going to do. We take it one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, and let God's will be done. We don't know what we will or will not. You say, oh, I'll never rob a bank. And then you walk into a bank, it looks so tempting. Have you noticed that?
With a mask on.
Yeah, that's right. I have the mask on already. And this teller's not paying attention. She won't recognize me. I have the mask on. The cameras won't know. He'll tempt you. Next thing you know, you're robbing a bank. And you'll be like, what the? Never say what you want to do. Really. We are not God. We are not in control. And as far as being of the world, we can't make ourselves, I don't mean go hide behind a rock or be one of those folks you mentioned, a monk. We're supposed to be in the world, conquering the world, because greater is he that's in us than he that's in the world. So we got to be in the world because we're the light of the world. And if you go and hide behind a rock, what's good? What's the point of having a light? But God will cause us to be in it, but not of it. He made all that stuff happen. We can't make that happen of our own. So don't hide. I think the Buddha people hide too, don't they?
Yeah.
They get all fat and hide. I noticed, I met some third eye people. Have you ever met a third eye person?
Yeah.
There's folks out there, oh, I got 3 eyes. You heard of the third eye people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But they so weak and pathetic, they don't stand for anything. I'm like, what's the purpose of being a son of God and you still act like a child of Satan? Weak and afraid and out of control and whatever. So we got to be in the world. We shouldn't go and hide. We got to deal with it. We got to overcome. I was talking to a family member last night about this whole stuff that's happening, and they were like, well, how about the Capitol? I was like, what about it? If it had been a bunch of black folks, everybody would have been killed. He was like, you remember the KKK? They used to kill us. I was like, are you dead now? He's like, no, I'm not dead now, but they didn't kill us. And I'm like, when did this happen with the KKK thing? In the late 60s and 50s. I'm like, what year is it now? People act, it's crazy to be living in the past that doesn't exist, and then you treat people based on something that happened a long time ago. As you know, you got to be crazy when you do stuff like that. I don't, and they were like, you remember the KKK? I do, but I don't remember all that. Because that's over now. White people had nothing to do with the KKK. You know what I'm saying? But if you're angry in a fallen state, it feels like all white people are the KKK. It's crazy, man. That's why the heart got to be renewed.
Yeah.